You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Bay Area, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me from the Murph and Mac Morning Show, formerly on KMBR, and was it a tough physical matchup in the Garden tonight. Almost felt like one of those prize fights that they have there, but no, it was Warriors Knicks, and John Kuminga came ready for battle. He packed his boxing gloves and set the tone all night long with his defensive intensity, toughness, and grit and attack mode on offense, on his way to 25 points and 8 rebounds and a 110-99 Warriors win. Steph finally busted out of his shooting slump and splashed in 8 from beyond the arc and led the Warriors with 31 points and 10 boards, all of which he grabbed in the first half. The Warriors' 7th consecutive win on the road, 12-3 in the last 15. The Warriors are hot, and it's the right time for a team to get rolling. We'll get into it all. But first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports Bay Area YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button. And also, thank you for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Today's episode is brought to you by Grammarly. Make a bigger impact at work with Grammarly. Sign up and download for free at grammarly.com/podcast. And tonight, you knew it was going to be physical. You knew Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo, all those 3 dudes from that Villanova championship team who all ended up on the Knicks, which is very on brand. I feel like just the 3 of those dudes just are do it all, like tough guys, like not tough guys, like they're going to beat you up, but willing to get down and dirty in the NBA, do the dirty work, play defense, pull down rebounds, take charges, that kind of stuff. And all 3 of those guys you saw do that tonight for the Knicks. Now, the Knicks did have a few injuries tonight. No Julius Randle, no Mitchell Robinson, no OG Anunoby. That's a lot missing from a team that, led by Tom Thibodeau, is known for its defense. And those are 3 big pieces for the Knicks. So it was nice to see the Warriors pull out the win tonight. And they got, the Knicks could not buy a bucket. For the first 5, almost 6 minutes of this game, the longest scoring drought of any team to open a game this season, the Knicks could not score. The Warriors 14 unanswered to start this game. At one point, it was 22-5 in the first quarter, and the Warriors let the Knicks creep back into this one. And you knew the Knicks weren't just going to go away. By the way, that 14-0 run was the biggest run to start a game since the 96-97 season for the Warriors. But the Knicks had responded right back with an 11-2 run, and it put them right back in this one. The Warriors closed out that first quarter with a 12-point lead, and you felt like it should have been more. They left a ton of makeable layups at the rim. A couple of them didn't fall. You got to make them. You got to make those. The Warriors left a ton of free throws at the line tonight too. 8 for 16. That's 50% from the line. That's not great. But thankfully, the Warriors' defensive intensity tonight was, off the charts. Just thinking back through this game, so many big defensive possessions. Moses Moody playing excellent tonight, forcing 24-second shot clock violations, blocking shots. John Kuminga sending Jalen Brunson's shot into like the 3rd row and sending Brunson into the 1st row himself. My God, this team was ready for action tonight. They were about that action tonight. Just ready to get down and dirty with the Knicks. Lots of points in the paint. The Warriors were not good shooting from 3 tonight. Only 31%, only 14 made threes for the Warriors. But you know what? They held the Knicks to 36% shooting from the field as a team and only 30% from 3 also. So the Warriors did their job on the defensive side of the ball. Draymond Green having a huge impact on the defensive side of the ball. And you saw it was everybody switching off on Jalen Brunson. Brunson still got his. He finished with 27, but it was a tough 27. It came on 11 of 25 shooting. He only got to the free throw line 1 time. The Warriors played excellent defense, and it was a mix of bodies that you saw running at him. You saw Steph, you saw AirPods, you saw Moody, you saw Kuminga a couple times, you saw everybody running at Jalen Brunson. And that was the recipe for how you're going to beat this Knicks team without all of their other sidekicks. DiVincenzo's been hot lately. They held him in check tonight. You saw, man, at one point, DiVincenzo was just like battered and bloody down low. This game was so physical. And you know that when you play the Knicks, the guards are going to try to snag some rebounds. And that's what you saw. The Knicks just clogging that key with 4 or 5 players. Every time a shot was going up, the Warriors were able to get out in transition and score some points in this one because of it. But I mean, Josh Hart had 18 rebounds. He also played 47 minutes. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I mean, shout out Josh Hart, one of my personal favorite guys in the league to watch. And he's just a little Energizer bunny out there. Interesting little note. He and Jalen Brunson said that they've turned to a mostly plant-based diet in order to recover from games faster. And he says Josh Hart said it makes him feel lighter, even though he hasn't lost any weight. He just feels more bouncy, quicker, lighter. So take that for what it's worth. Kind of interesting little note. But 18 boards for Josh Hart tonight. Just crazy production by a guard. But you know who else had some crazy production rebounding wise for a guard was Stephen Wardell Curry. 10 boards in the first half. Only the second time in his career he has done that. Last time came against the Sacramento Kings. And Steph was really on his game. You saw him coming out looking for his shot from 3 early in this one. He had 2 real quick threes. And coming into this game, 5 consecutive games with shooting below 30% from 3. And you knew that wasn't going to continue. You know, Steph is going to be Steph. He's going to turn back into who he is, which is the greatest shooter of all time. Tonight, he had a very familiar home in Madison Square Garden where he broke Ray Allen's all-time 3-point record. So, you know, Steph loves playing in the Garden. He's had some of his all-time greatest scoring outputs in the Garden. And tonight wasn't that, but he did get 30. He got 31 tonight, 8 threes. You knew the ship was going to right itself. You don't need to do anything to Steph. He'll fix himself. What needed to be fixed was this Warriors intensity and their focus and their defense. And that's what got fixed tonight. John Kuminga was all over the floor. He was constantly attacking the Knicks inside, in the paint, getting to the line, attacking on defense, not letting guys back him down. I mean, you saw him absolutely drive Jalen Brunson, just destroy Jalen Brunson on a switch when Brunson tried to guard John Kuminga in the post, and just right out of the right in the middle of the second quarter, John Kuminga throws his shoulder into the middle of Brunson's chest, and Brunson goes down, and Kuminga has the easiest layup he's going to have all season long. And Brunson kept taking the brunt of it from Kuminga. It felt like all night long, Kuminga was just bullying Brunson, looking to hunt buckets against him in the paint. Bullied him a little bit on defense. We talked about that big block. That's a highlight for John Kuminga for his rookie season. When you see the John Kuminga, or not rookie season, excuse me, it's Kuminga's 3rd year. In this season for Kuminga, this is going to be in the highlight mix at the end of this season for his highlight tape. It's this block was probably the most impressive thing I've seen from Kuminga on defense. When Brunson tried to drive, he kind of came from the wing and attacked him, coming at an angle across the paint, and he tried to go at him with the left, and Kuminga just was not having it. You saw him wink afterwards. I mean, Kuminga was celebrating all night long, and it was fun to watch, to see him have that confidence, that swagger. That's exactly what you want to see out of him, and it just shows where his head is at. And he talked about it going into the locker room at halftime on the NBC broadcast. If you watch there tonight, Warriors also on TNT tonight. Kuminga said he wanted to get physical with the Knicks before they got physical with him, and that this was the style of play the Warriors have been wanting to see from him. And it's exactly what we saw tonight, a physical brand of basketball. And the Warriors knew it was going to be a physical game, and this for sure lived up to that billing. And you heard Kuminga also say that the Warriors just want him to play free. And that's what you saw tonight. I feel like that you saw a wild Mustang running unbridled in the Idaho wilderness, just moving mountains. Like, this guy is unbelievably physically talented. You saw him try to end a couple Knicks lives in the paint tonight with those spike putbacks. He almost had two absolutely monster dunks tonight. He was, I mean, millimeters away from having, the number one and the number two in the Sports Center top 10 tonight. I mean, John Kuminga, I don't know what else I can say. His intensity tonight set the tone for the Warriors, and it drove them to this win. Steph also really helped with setting the tone on a toughness level by grabbing those boards early. You saw him mixing it up in the paint. And if Steph's mixing it up down there, it makes you kind of want to mix it up down there. By the way, that no call on Steph, again, we feel like we got one a game we got to talk about. But when Steph gets knocked down to the floor by a 7-footer on his way to the rim, and the guy takes out his landing from underneath him, I don't know how he doesn't get that call. And Steve Kerr did the right thing, called a timeout there specifically so he could scream at the official and tell him that is Stephen Wardell Curry, one of the all-time greatest players in the NBA, maybe the best player in the NBA right now. You will not let him get hurt by some backup center because you don't want to blow the whistle. So blow the whistle. Don't get Steph hurt. Simple as that. Let's move on. We got a lot more to get into on this show. Steph shooting out of his scoring slump, Kuminga's intensity and toughness, 7 consecutive road wins. That is a big deal. And one guy who you might have heard of, Mr. Charles Barkley, had some comments that I think the Warriors addressed pretty well tonight with their play. We'll get into a little bit of that. I'll explain a little more in just a few moments. You are listening to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we will be right back. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping for a daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every week we're going to provide you players that are guaranteed to fit on your roster. This week, we're going with DeAndre Hunter of the Atlanta Hawks as our eBay Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Pick of the Week. Hunter is shooting well, and with Trae Young out, you might have seen that Instagram post that he had of his arm in that sling. That was a tough look for Trae. But Trae's out, and the touches and shot attempts will spike for DeAndre Hunter. Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, and eBay Motors knows a championship team is about each vehicle being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicles. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack, bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Plus, at these prices, you're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and tonight we saw Steph shoot right out of that scoring slump he was in. I feel like Steph had almost like a quiet, if you want to call it that, 31 points. He had a little barrage at the end there to seal the deal here in the fourth quarter. The Warriors finally respond in the fourth quarter, show some signs of life. I mean, all season long, this has been a problem for the Warriors where they can't close out games. And tonight, the Warriors did just that. We saw Steph hitting threes. We saw guys, the Warriors defending without fouling, not turning the ball over, finished the game with 11 turnovers. The Knicks had 12. You won the turnover battle. This is a big part of why this game never really felt too out of control. They led wire to wire. The Knicks had some runs, but every time they had a run, the Warriors responded. They went cold in the fourth quarter, shooting 1 for 8 towards the beginning. Knicks went on a 13-2 run where they shrunk the lead to 4, and you felt it kind of getting a little tight there. The air was getting a little heavy. It was getting a little hot, but, Moody had a huge play, and this felt like a turning point for the Warriors where he He came up with a block and he found Kuminga running down the court. And Kuminga was in between 3 Knicks defenders. And he somehow beat all of them down the court, drew a foul against Brunson, and he jumped, spun in the air, and he threw like a weird, like two-handed behind the head, like just kind of tossed it up there, and he sunk the bucket. And then he kind of hit the crowd with a little wink afterwards and a smile at the bench. You could tell John Kuminga was looking for his shot. He knew what he was doing tonight, and he absolutely just tormented this Knicks defense. And that's what you want to see from Kuminga. That's how this team will continue to rise in the playoff standings. They're in the top 5 in defensive efficiency since Draymond Green returned to this starting lineup. And that's what you saw tonight. They held the Knicks under 100 points. It is a Tom Thibodeau team. They're not known for scoring, but they did what they needed to do. You hold a team to below 40% shooting from the field and 30% shooting from 3, you'll win a lot of those games, even if you have an off night shooting, which is what the Warriors had. 31% from 3 is not their best. Steph did enough to win, but you only had 4 guys in double figures. Chris Paul with 11, Klay Thompson with 16, Steph with 31, Kuminga with 25. So you needed the defense to show up tonight. The Warriors weren't going to win. They weren't going to drop 120, 130 tonight. You knew that coming into this game because of the way this team plays, the way the Knicks team, these Tom Thibodeau Knicks teams and Tom Thibodeau Bulls teams have always played. They're going to give you max intensity, and they will play the Knicks one other time this year. They'll play them next month in March. And happy Leap Day, by the way, February 29th. I hope you guys are all celebrating somehow. The Warriors celebrating with a win. And they'll play the Knicks when they play them next time in March, in the middle of March. They should have most of these injured bodies back. And Anunoby is going to be a big piece when he comes back from his injury. And this should be Julius Randle could be back as well then. And that would be another measuring stick game for the Warriors. We've been talking a lot about measuring stick games and how the Warriors stack up against these different playoff caliber teams. And this is a Knicks team that, when they're healthy, is looking to contend for an Eastern Conference title. So while they're not quite at that same level with these injuries, they still have a lot of health on their team. Also, the Warriors without Andrew Wiggins still away from the team due to personal matters. And we aren't even going to speculate on that. That's his business. He is a human being just like the rest of us. Yes, he gets paid a lot of money to play basketball. Yes, we all love the Warriors, and we want to see Andrew Wiggins out there, but we need him to be him when he's out there, and he can only be him if his life's in order. So I'm going to take it at face value when he says he needs time away, that he knows what's best for himself, and we should not speculate on that. That's up to him. He's an adult. He knows how to handle himself. Shout out Andrew Wiggins. Go get yourself healthy. Go get your brain right. Whatever's going on in your life, I hope you figure it out, and I hope it smooths itself out. But what we do have is Moses Moody stepping into that Andrew Wiggins role, getting another start tonight, and he was awesome, man. All over the place. Moses Moody felt like he was in the paint, like boxing dudes out every single possession. Felt like he was playing lockdown defense, closing out, rotating over, and he was everywhere he was supposed to be. He's taking the shots he's supposed to take. I'm really impressed with what I've seen from Moses Moody. And he's a pro's pro. We know this, that he's a guy who's not going to make big mistakes in a game. You're going to put him in and he's going to play within himself. He's not going to try to play hero ball. He's not going to, try some crazy ISO moves on anybody. He's going to drive to the rim, kick out passes, smart passes to open players, to knock down threes. He's gonna take easy layups. He's gonna get to the line. He's gonna play intense defense. Moses Moody has been awesome in the Andrew Wiggins role since he's had to step away, and they have the firepower to keep up with these other teams. You saw Chris Paul's impact tonight was not nearly as big as it was when he first came back the other night when the Warriors had I don't know why I'm blanking on this. They played 2 days ago, and Chris Paul had a great game, and just doing it all, getting everybody involved. And we talked a little bit on the last postcast about all the different players that were going to benefit from Chris Paul and who was going to benefit the most. And tonight we saw more evidence of Trayce Jackson-Davis's development with Chris Paul. And he just has such a good feel for the game. You can tell that he's a 4-year college player, and you can see the impact that CP3 and Klay are both having on him. It seems like Klay is like hunting Trayce Jackson-Davis for assists. We've talked about this a few times, and it seems like every time Klay finds him, he's getting to the free throw line or getting an easy bucket at the rim. And we saw a monster alley-oop from Chris Paul to TJD to open the fourth quarter. And we saw in the second quarter a pick and roll that gave Trayce Jackson-Davis an easy layup inside. And Chris Paul is orchestrating all this. You also saw TJD find Chris Paul for a three after he caught a nice interior pass, drew, the defense collapsed, 3 or 4 defenders came into the key, and he kind of like slipped the ball out to CP3 for a wide open bucket. And you saw a couple of other times tonight, the soft, quick hands of a Trayce Jackson-Davis slipping the ball out of a crummy situation in the paint where he's, kind of in a sketchy situation, all locked down with guys coming, ripping at the ball from all these different angles. And he's able to calmly, collectively get the ball to the open shooter on the wing or in the corner. And it's amazing to me that the Warriors were able to find 2 guys in this last draft who seem to have just maximum basketball IQ level, Brandon Podziemski and Trayce Jackson-Davis. And it's showing up in how the Warriors play. I mean, we've seen throughout the years when the Warriors have cohesive teams that all know how to play with a high level of basketball IQ, they do really well. You see other guys that come here that are super, super talented, uber talented. I'm talking about Kelly Oubre, and not very high on the basketball IQ charts. And it just doesn't mix. It's not a good fit. It doesn't work here with the Steve Kerr brand of basketball, with Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, the way those guys like to run their offense, and it just doesn't work. You gotta have high basketball IQ to be a Golden State Warrior, and that's exactly what these 2 rookies have. We got to take a very brief break. On the other side, we need to talk about what Mr. Sir Charles Barkley had to say about the Warriors being a playoff contender, and why you shouldn't listen to him, and why you probably shouldn't have been listening to Charles Barkley or any of his takes in any of the Warriors' last playoff runs. So we will get into that on the other side. I am Eric Triple E Engel, and you are listening to the Locked On Warriors Postcast or watching the Locked On Warriors Postcast. We will be right back. No matter what kind of work you do, how you communicate is key. I personally respond to so many emails every day that I inevitably miss some typos, but nobody wants to come across as careless or, even worse, unintelligent, especially at work. And that's where Grammarly comes into play. Even their tone suggestions help you navigate the most difficult work conversations. Grammarly works across 500,000 apps and websites. It's no surprise that 93% of professionals using Grammarly Premium report that it helps them get more work done. Grammarly is the gold standard of responsible AI with 14 years of experience and just about every IT certification under the sun. Make a bigger impact at work with Grammarly. Sign up and download for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's grammarly.com/podcast. Easier said, done. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and I gotta tell you guys, whenever Charles Barkley talks, I gotta tune in. You know what I mean? I love Chuck and his absolutely outlandish takes, his guarantees, and that almost never come true. His terrible golf game that is just hilarious to watch. And it's not quite as bad as some of his takes, though, man. Like, through the years, Chuck's had some pretty bad takes. He talked about how the Warriors can't win a championship as a jump shooting team, which I don't know what the hell that even means. Every team shoots jump shots. If you're not a jump shooting team, can you win a championship if you just don't know how to shoot jumpers? During 2022, during their last championship run, the entire way he doubted them. Just every night felt like he had some new outlandish thing as to why the Warriors can't win. He just absolutely just dogged San Francisco as a city the whole time, which if you follow me on Twitter at Eric_Engel, you have seen all the controversy that started on for no reason when I just said San Francisco is quite a nice place to live. And I'll back that up any day of the week. And people like Charles Barkley will refute that. However, Chuck says nobody is worried about the Warriors in the West because they're a 9 or a 10 seed. He also threw the Lakers into this conversation too. Said no one was worried about the Lakers either. But I want to ask you, what other 9 or 10 seed has Steph Curry? What other 9 or 10 seed has LeBron James? What other 9 or 10 seed has Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga emerging into one of the top flight players in the NBA? That doesn't scare you? It concerns me if that doesn't scare you. That tells me you haven't been paying attention to what the Warriors have been doing in their last 14, 15 games. They're in the top 5 of almost every category you could throw out there, defensive or offensive. They have been playing absolutely amazing basketball, just beautiful basketball for these last couple weeks, these last month. The whole month of February was awesome for the Warriors. Their 7 wins in a row on the road is notable. This is a team that won 11 total games on the road last season. That's insane. The turnaround in that is telling in how mature this team is, how especially these young players. And if you're not concerned about the Warriors making a run, you just haven't been paying attention. The Warriors have absolutely proven that they're a playoff seed, that they're going to make the playoffs. The Utah Jazz have fallen, I think, 4 games back from the Warriors now, 3 or 4 games back from the Warriors. They will be in bare minimum the play-in. It's all a matter of how high can the Warriors climb in these playoff standings. And I think they showed you tonight they can win in a lot of different ways. This is a team that doesn't need, 40% shooting from 3. The Warriors are, 18-4 or whatever this season. And that seems to be what everyone thinks the Warriors need to do to win. You saw tonight. They can get it done in other ways. They can get it done with defense. They can get it done with John Kuminga saying, jump on my back. I'll carry you guys into the paint, and we'll throw some bodies around down here too. We'll knock some fools down on the way to a bucket at the rim. And that's exactly what you need to see from a team. Good teams can win games in ways that they're designed to win. And when the game goes their way, they'll win. Great teams, championship level teams, win games in lots of different ways. And this team proved tonight and throughout the rest of the season. They proved on that last road trip. They proved in Brooklyn. They proved all sorts of other ways against the Hornets. That was a terrible offensive game for the Warriors. And they've shown all these different ways that they can win, that they can beat teams. And tonight they showed you they could do it against a team that has aspirations to win a conference championship, that they can win this game if they don't shoot 40% from 3. If Klay Thompson doesn't go mini nuclear, if Steph plays well and someone else steps up. That's what we've said all year long. If Steph does his thing and someone else steps up, this team is a threat. So Chuck, I'm sorry. You're funny. I like to watch your show, but man, I could not disagree with you more on this take. If I am the Minnesota Timberwolves, you're not afraid of maybe playing the Golden State Warriors? What if the Timberwolves won? What if the Timberwolves shown you that to make them so much definitively better than the Warriors? What have they proven? When's the last time they won a conference championship? I'm not trying to dog just the Timberwolves, but come on, man. The Thunder too are up there. These are young teams who have not proven that they can win, and the Warriors have something that a lot of these other teams don't. Lakers too. And that's veteran leadership that's been there, done that throughout time and time and time again. And there's no reason to say that they can't do it again. That's about all the time that we have for this show tonight. Thank you for joining. Thanks for watching or listening, however you're getting the show, on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed, on the Locked On Bay Area YouTube channel. Thanks for watching Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We will see you next time. Warriors' next game is tomorrow night. Friday in Toronto, 4:30 p.m. tip. Man, we got some bad memories in Toronto. I am expecting a big game from Klay, who I guarantee you is thinking about this already. We'll see you then, 4:30 p.m. tip tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Peace.